Good morning, Eddie. International break is over now. Has the break been good for you? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been a good batch of training for us. I think we've really enjoyed, and we always enjoy training with the players, small group, sort of different numbers on different days. We've had roughly about 8 to 9 players, which is always a good challenge to keep them entertained and mentally stimulated for the 2 weeks. But I feel like those players that have stayed, some of them needed some work, and we've got some good work into them, and they're certainly better physical condition.
You move now into a different period in your season, a busy period with 7 matches in 23 days. But given what's gone before and now the transfer window's closed, how important is it for everybody that you look forward now and move on from the events of the summer?
Yeah, hugely important. As you say, the schedule we have coming up, we always knew how this season looked for us. It was a sort of a slow start in terms of week-to-week games, and then bang. We're going to be into a storm of games, and that's what we want. That there's going to be a great period for us in terms of challenges, quick turnarounds. We're going to need the whole squad ready to play, and that's why the last 2 weeks has been good, because we've been able to get work into players that needed it. So I think everyone's in a very good physical condition now to contribute, and it's really focusing on the whole squad in the next few weeks, because that collective is going to be the key thing.
And can you put some of the frustrations and the difficulties and challenges of the transfer window and the early part of the season behind you now? You've had almost this clean break, perhaps. I don't know if reset's the right word, but now you can really look forward.
Yeah, I don't think, we always have challenges in different ways. It was a challenging window, but I think a successful window, hopefully. As I always say, time will be the best judgment of that. But there's always something to push you and test you, and ultimately you've got to find a way to withstand any challenge that you face and still find a way to win football matches. And that's now our clear focus. It's always been our focus, but it's a clear focus now that it's just the football. There's no off-the-pitch distractions, and we're looking forward to that.
This is the first time we've been able to speak to you since Wissa arrived. Why did you want to bring him here? Why did you work so hard to get him in?
Well, yeah, I think an established Premier League goal scorer, which is very difficult to find, difficult to recruit. I think he's got really good qualities. He had an outstanding year, not just last year, but the last few years in the Premier League. So he's got a history of scoring goals. He's done well against us and been a difficult player for us to handle when we've come up against him. And I really admire the journey that he's been on to get to this point, because it's not been easy for him. He's had, big steps to make in his career, but he's always adjusted and made them. So hopefully he can do the same with us.
He's just come back from international duty, hasn't he, in Africa? Is he fully fit and available for Wolves this weekend?
Unfortunately not, no. So he won't make this game. So I saw him for the first time yesterday. He's feeling the effects of the injury sustained just before he came off. So we're going to have to see how he is.
What about Nick Woltemade, who you brought in before Leeds, but he couldn't play? He has trained with you this week, hasn't he? Is he okay for Wolves? Yeah,
he's fine. He's trained well. Been really, really pleased with how he's looked in the first couple of days. Yeah, a big change for him, big opportunity for him as well. I think he's got a great nature, a great character. He's very calm. He's gone straight into our training and not looked out of place, showed his qualities. So, yeah, really pleased with how he settled in.
Thanks, Fraser. Pete?
Eddie, great to see you.
Hey.
I'll start with some brilliant news. This is probably the last time we'll ever have to speak about the transfer window today, so absolutely brilliant. Now the dust settled, how do you reflect on the summer as a whole from a transfer point of view?
Yeah, a lot happened. I mean, I think I always say the same in transfer windows. You can make snap judgments once the signings are initially made, but time always is the best judgment of that. And I think we will see how this is viewed as we move forward. My gut feel and the initial reaction is it's been, in terms of the incomings, very strong. I really like the group of players that we've added to the already really strong squad. not just in terms of ability and playing style, but in terms of people. So I think the group and the spirit and the feel of the group will be very strong again. Of course, we've lost a few players in there as well, and that's always an adjustment period for the squad to stabilise and to find its feet, and in terms of a new squad and a new team and all those things that we will now have to go and prove how good we are. But I'm excited about the possibilities of this squad.
Another positive as well, I mean, probably one of the things since you came to the club that Newcastle have struggled with is that they've not been able to sell many players when you arrived here for big fees, so it's kind of probably held the club back a little bit in the market. You've been able to bring in a record transfer fee into the club, and that's going to give you a lot of room to manoeuvre going forward and strengthen.
Yeah, I think selling players with PSR, and I've said this many times before, it is part of any club's future. I think you have to trade. It's something that sometimes you don't want to trade certain players, but you have to trade to produce income. We've certainly been in that position for a long time, and unfortunately, it's well documented, we sold a couple of players that we didn't want to historically for PSR reasons. We hope to be in a position where we don't have to make those type of decisions again. So yeah, I think you just want to make football-based decisions, not financial decisions that you're forced to make. So I think that's the key for us.
Feels like there's a bit of a buzz in the city going into this weekend. You know, on the outside, you look at Wolves at home, maybe on another day, wouldn't be such a big game, but it feels like a big game. The window's shut. It feels almost like the start of a new sort of era for the club in some ways. How excited are you, and how important are the fans going to be this weekend?
Yeah, I sort of agree with that assessment. I think it's a huge game for us in our season, in our Premier League season, because it's been a slow start in terms of results. I don't think it's been a slow start necessarily in terms of performances, but we need to build momentum into our season very, very quickly. The level is so high, and Wolves will be difficult and dangerous opponents for us. They gave us two really good games last year, tight games, and they were more than in those games, and we know and fully respect them, know their quality. So as always, when we play at home, the environment's always a very special one. We need the supporters with us, as they have been in every moment. And hopefully with the quality that we have in the squad, we can get back to winning ways.
And just final one from me. I know traditionally you like to let players sort of a bit of time to bed them in. You've got Nick Woltemade available. Obviously, Wissa missing is a blow for you, but how tempted are you to just chuck him in and see how he copes in the atmosphere of St James's Park? He's obviously played for Germany in the break as well, so he's fit and ready to go. Is there a temptation to just chuck him in there and see how he gets on? Yeah,
I think we always view it very much individually. I don't think there's a set formula for new players. It all depends on your need and their, as you say, their fitness and form. I have no hesitation playing any of the new players currently.
Thank you. Andy?
Well, Nelly, after all I think we can describe it as the furore of the transfer window, how nice is it for you to focus 100% on the football, the coaching aspect once again?
Yeah, the coaching aspect is where I get most of my enjoyment, I'd say, and it's been great the last 2 weeks to be on the training pitch and focusing purely with the players, the small group of players that I had to work with, trying to find ways to improve them and get the best out of them, and that's always at the core and the heart of the job that I do. So I've really enjoyed it. Yes, the transfer window goes away for a period of time, which is great. And now we've got such big football tests coming up. Wolves, obviously, the games beyond in a really quick succession that we spend a lot of time trying to plan the next games as well. So, yeah, all football now, and yeah, fully looking forward to it.
Talk about Nick Woltemade there. He seems to be really, really kind of throwing himself into Newcastle life. Obviously, he's not been here many days with the international break, but he's been around the city. There's been plenty of selfies, I think, with fans on social media as well. He seems like a really, really good person. What sort of person have you encountered on the training pitch and around the group so far?
Yeah, I think what you see is what you get with Nick. I think he is sort of laid back to a degree, but also really relaxed, funny. He's got a great sense of humour. We could see that straight away. Very warm person. Spoke really well about the team dynamic and wanting to help the team and bring his qualities to the group. So very selfless in that respect. And yeah, I've seen little pictures of him out and about, which is great because he needs to feel at home. I think that's the biggest thing. We need to help him view the team and the club and the training ground as his new home as quickly as possible, and I'm sure everyone's doing their best to make him settle in quickly.
It's almost like land of the giants at Newcastle United these days. Obviously, Nick, very, very tall. Dan, I think there's potential like 8 starters that could be over 6 foot. Apart from how you feel stood around the likes of Nick and Dan, how close are you getting to a team which has that blend of the physicality, but the athleticism and the dynamism that you want as well?
Yeah, I mean, height's important, but it's not the only quality. As you say, you need a mixture of physical, mental qualities to build a successful team. And I think, you know, Nick's, yes, he's big in size, but he's not necessarily your traditional target man. He's much more than that. He's a very different player to sort of his size. His technical ability is very high, and we've seen that already in training. Really good manipulator of the ball, very good in tight spaces. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing how he can help the team and how we use him, because time will tell. You know, trying to mould and adjust to him and vice versa. So, but I think he's got standout qualities that we need, and hopefully he can help the team.
Obviously, there's not been signings just on the pitch. There's been signings off the pitch as well, with David Hopkinson coming in. I just wondered if you'd managed to have a chat with him so far. Yeah,
several conversations. Great person, again, really great energy. I laugh because he's you know, very, very positive, and I think he's a great appointment. I think it's an appointment that was much needed. Unfortunately, with Darren's illness, left a big gap, and David will come in and hopefully take the club off the pitch, as you say, into a new direction.
Just finally, what's the other team news ahead of Wolves tomorrow? I know Jacob Murphy's hand was a bit sore after starting the Great North Run, apparently, but what else is there going on?
I think he's fit with his hand. Jacob Ramsey's the only other injury concern that we have. I think he'll miss the game, having suffered from that tackle against Leeds. So his ankle swelled up at half-time, meant he had to come off. And unfortunately, I think he'll be missing until the next international break, so that's a big blow.
Thank you. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie. Just following on from that, is Joelinton fit and available?
Joe has trained during the last... I'm just trying to sort of remember how many days he's trained, but yeah, he's been fit and available. He's been out on the training pitch and he's looked good, so really happy to welcome him back, such an important player.
Woltemade and Wissa, we've spoken a lot about them. In the future, could you see them playing together?
Yeah, I think I've answered this question many times on Callum and Alex. Historically, yes, but depending on the team's needs and whether tactically that's the right thing, but I never rule out the possibility of playing 2 centre forwards together at the same time. Certainly they've got the sort of characteristics to play together. It's not like they're the same style of player. But obviously we have a way of playing, and I wouldn't necessarily at the moment want to deviate too far from that.
Your competition for your full-backs it's incredibly strong at the moment. How is Lewis Hall getting on, and is he close to pushing for that start?
Yeah, Lou is one that's really benefited, I think, from staying with us during the international break. So he trained well and trained physically really well too. So I think he's in a much better condition now than before the break. Yeah, so I think he's getting there, and he's certainly going to play an important part in the coming weeks with all the games that we have, and his qualities are undoubted. It's just a case of, with him being such a young player, making sure that we manage him right on the return from this injury, because it was a serious injury he sustained.
Thank you. We'll go to Damien, Mark, Chris and then Ian, please. Damien?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
On Nick, is the challenge to him to go and do what Alex did here and make himself a star?
Make himself a star. I think I think that's a difficult one. I think that the challenge for Nick is to adjust to the Premier League, to us, to how we play. I think there's a lot for him to take in, but I think I say this to any new player coming to the group: we just want them to be themselves, commit to what we ask them to do, give everything in every moment, and the process then will naturally occur that we think he has the qualities to become a very, very good player for us in the short and long term. Really like what I've seen initially, but I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I think there's enough on him already. We just want him to be, as I say, himself and just commit to what we ask him to do.
And just looking back at the summer, what lessons will the club learn from the Alex Isak saga?
I think that's for another day, and that's for probably people behind the scenes to reflect on. I think for me, I've just got to focus on the future and looking forward.
Thanks, Stevie. Mark?
You mentioned Johan there being out. Do you think it's a long-term injury, or is it something just maybe a short-term injury? Will he be back for Barcelona or in contention?
Yeah, I don't know currently as I sit here. I think he'll go away for tests and maybe see a specialist to see. So unfortunately, I can't give you that update.
You mentioned there about David Hopkinson coming in, potentially a director of football coming down the line as well. Do you feel like the environment around Newcastle is probably as positive as it's been for kind of a year, 2 years?
I think that these are appointments that I've said many times, and I think the club would acknowledge as well, need to be filled. Darren Eales did a great job as CEO, and obviously an area that I don't really know a lot about in terms of sort of the day-to-day work that he has done, but did a great job for the football club. And now David comes in with his expertise, a rich experience as well in different countries. So I think he's a brilliant appointment by the club. And then, of course, a sporting director, that's absolutely vital for our future and our organisational structure. So positions that need to be filled, but as I said many times, need to be filled by the right people.
Thanks, Mark. Chris?
Morning, Eddie. In terms of the Alexander Isak situation, obviously you said you detached yourself from it for a while, and it had proven to be, I suppose, distracting for everyone around the club. Is it good that there is a resolution to that now? That it's if he'd stayed, obviously you'd have had a very good player around, but maybe the questions would have continued. The fact that can be closed off, is there a positive to that in terms of focusing on the football now?
Yeah, I think there's a positive naturally when the window shuts, because you know the squad you have to work with, and there's no grey areas, so you're able really to focus on the players, and from my perspective try to communicate with them, sit down with all of the group really, and then try and navigate our way through what's ahead and make sure we're all aligned, we're all together, and we all know what's expected of us in the next few weeks. It's going to be intense, it's going to be a brilliant period for us footballing wise, some great games. But to achieve success, as we've always said, you need the group together and thinking along the same lines, and it's never about any individual, it's always about the collective. So now we move forward with that train of mind, that train of thought in our heads.
And obviously in terms of Alex's quality, it was always going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to replace him like for like. He brought in 2 strikers. Can you explain the process of getting towards those, and what you sort of see them bringing in instead of Alex, and what they can bring going forward? Yeah,
I think that's a good question actually, because you can never, I think it's been impossible to replace Alex like for like. There's no other player like Alex. He was totally unique and had his qualities. And it's important I think we don't compare whoever we bring in to Alex, because I think that's very difficult to do. I think each player that comes in is an individual in their own right and has their own strengths and weaknesses. And as I say, there will be a process where we have to mould ourselves to them, and as I say, vice versa. So both players have standout qualities. I mean, Johan's, as I said, a proven Premier League goal scorer, very, very good finisher, real threat in the box. Another hard worker, but a good player technically to link play. And Nick is very, very creative. I think hopefully you'll see around the box, and his ability to link play and to find passes will really help us in that final third. So, different players. I don't think you can compare even any of the 3 strikers that we've just discussed, but hopefully individually they'll all perform well for the team.
Thank you. Ian?
Morning, Eddie. I've heard 1-2 fans say that you've now got the strongest squad since you arrived, but not necessarily the best starting lineup. What would your views be on that?
Yeah, I think that's very difficult to define. I think the time will tell, the future will dictate that. I really like the squad. I think the squad has depth to it. I think it's got really strong players in all positions, if everyone's fit, fighting for starting places, which I think is always a great thing. And the starting 11, look, very difficult to compare back to even the team last year. This will be a new team, and we're going to have to win a lot of games because that's our expectation of ourselves.
I've no doubt you watched the two Germany games during the international break. Two frustrating games for Nick. Did you learn anything new about them, and did it sort of confirm he's not an isolated striker? He's someone who needs to be more involved in build-up play?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's an isolated striker. No striker would want to play on their own with no support play. So I sort of dispel that myth. You know, we will want to get players around all of our strikers, whoever plays. Sometimes that, for whatever reason in a game, doesn't happen, and you can sometimes look at your striker and feel he's too isolated, and that never helps his performance. So, yeah, of course I watch those games, and of course you learn something from every game, not necessarily about Nick, but about football. But I think we play, and of course all teams play differently. We will envisage Nick playing a certain role for us, and we'll try and get the best out of him.
Thanks, Ian. We've got to Craig, Lee, and then to Jordan, please.
More than Eddie, this is obviously the first time you have spoken since Alex left. And a lot has been said around this. Can you just talk to us about your relationship with him, what it was like, what it became in the summer, and what it's like now?
Yeah, I think Alex and I always enjoyed a great relationship. I loved working with him. I hope that he loved working with us. It was mutually beneficial. You know, I think we helped him become the player that he in part is today, and he helped us as a team achieve some unbelievable milestones, and of course he was part of a very successful team. I think, just giving you a bit more on that, I think the moment that he went on strike, our relationship did change. And yeah, I think that was probably a turning point that our relationship took.
Changed in what way, and have you spoken since, and would you like to repair that one day? Just tell us about that change, if you can.
Yeah, no, I just think, obviously communication became difficult from that point onwards. I won't go into it any more than that.
Thank you. Lee?
Eddie, just on the new signings coming in, and obviously the Isak situation gone now, is this a real chance to sort of fully turn the page on the next episode for Newcastle United?
Yeah, I think so. I think every season is that, really. That's my view on it. Regardless of what happened last year, for all of us, we start again, and we start from zero, and we have to earn everything and achieve everything then together from a very clear start point. So, and I think that's a really important message to the players, because you can't live off last season, you can't live off history. The future's there to be made for us, and we have to attack it together. So this is a new team, a new feel, but one that I think can be successful.
And do you think that the dressing room had already kind of mentally moved on from the Isak saga, if you like? Because they've obviously spoken about it a little bit, saying that in the 3 games that showed signs. Do you think that they'd already moved on long before that transfer went through?
I think, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody in the dressing room. Obviously, Alex was closer to some players than other. I think that's natural. But I think the players were very good at sort of focusing on what they could directly control, and they knew that was the football. And I think as soon as the season started, I think they went into a different mindset, really. And I think you could see that from the Aston Villa performance. It was very strong, it was very committed. You can't play like that if you have any doubts or outside noises affecting the group internally. So I think from that moment, really, when the season started, I think they went into a different place.
Thank you. Jordan, Luke, and then Scott, please. Jordan?
Bruno played at high altitude on the 8 hours of Wednesday morning. Is that something to consider going into the weekend, given you've got a busy schedule coming up as well?
Yeah, definitely. We've had discussions with Bruno, and we'll continue to have discussions with Bruno to see how he feels. Any player that enters the pitch, we have to be confident, and he has to be confident that he can deliver his best for the team. And I know Bruno will share that view with us, so we'll wait and see.
And just on Nick Woltemade, you touched upon it after Leeds, but how much patience is required with him, and I suppose with the Johan situation, can you be patient with him?
Yeah, I think we need some understanding, which I know the Newcastle supporters will give him, because in my experience here, they've been very understanding of every situation that a player faces. It's a very difficult league to come into and instantly feel at ease and comfortable within it. Now, some players have done that, and we certainly hope Nick is one of those that looks comfortable in the Premier League with the speed change and etc. All the challenges that he's going to face. But it's worth remembering back to Alex. Alex didn't play every game at the start. He was rotated with Callum, and he was bedded in gently, and I think that really helped his long-term success. So every player's different. Let's wait and see what happens with Nick, but we'll certainly support him through every moment.
Thanks, John. Luke?
After today, you probably won't have to speak about him very often again. How much is what you've just said there about your relationship changing? Was it actually a bit of a relief in the end that you didn't have to try and reintegrate Alexander Isak? Because it did go right down to the wire, and that was still very much at play, probably on July 30th.
I didn't look at it that way, really. I didn't know which way things were going to fall right until the end. All I'll ever do is adjust to what the future now looks like, and that future now is without Alex. But we were able to bring 2 strikers in that we feel can really help us, and now my focus is purely on them.
Just one more on Isak and then one in general. But were you shocked when he went on strike? Is that something that took you by surprise?
I don't know if shock's the right word, because I think I've seen lots of these similar situations before. But as I said earlier, it was just about dealing with the situation in the best way that I could for Newcastle.
What does a successful season look like for you? I know you generally get asked that before the first game of the season, but it does feel like the season starts again now. What is a successful season?
Easy for you to say. Can see what's on your mind.
What is a sexy season? Seems like for you now.
I can't answer that now, surely. Yeah, I mean, I do answer that in one particular way, which is always about improvement and evolving the team. But I think evolving the team is a big thing now, because it's a new team, and it's a team that you can't compare to previous seasons, because I think there's been so much change, which is probably the first time we faced that going into a new season, where there's been more players coming in and more players leaving that maybe I would have anticipated before the window opened. And then for me, it's about getting the team to look like a team and play in the same way, or play in the way that we want the team to play in, as quickly as possible. So gelling the new guys is going to be a really important phase now as we go into the season, but there'll be no training, and that's the sort of challenge that we face, because we're playing every 3-4 days.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Luke. We've got to Scott, Kieran and to Dom, please.
Just to clarify, Eddie, what is Johan's injury? What is it?
It's a knee injury, but I don't really know any more than that. We only saw him for the first time yesterday.
And I mean, there was an awful lot happening, obviously, this summer right the way through, and the club was having to try and negotiate that without a sporting director in place. How difficult do you think that made it? And there is a narrative out there, which I think is probably unfair, that you don't really like working with a sporting director. How would you react to that? And how important is it that the sporting director that is eventually going to come in is top class?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that's come from. I'm desperate for a sporting director, because the way the modern football club works, I think you need that person, the expertise, the person that's going to lead the club in all sorts of different ways, whether that's the academy, transfers. It's a never-ending network now that the sporting director has to navigate his way through. So it's an absolutely pivotal position. I had a very good relationship with Dan Ashworth, a very good relationship with Richard Hughes at Bournemouth for many years. So no, we need the position filled, but ideally with the right man, the man that can lead the club forward in many different ways and to a very successful era. So no, I'm fully supportive of the position.
Thank you. Kieran?
Good morning. Could I just ask how important it is now to have players who actually want to be here?
It's absolutely crucial. I mean, very, very difficult to work with players that don't want to be at any football club. And for me, it's one of the most important, especially when recruiting players, one of the most important things that you look for in a player. You can look at the ability in the person, but if they sort of unsure whether to come or whether this is the right club for them, then for me that leaves the transfer a very difficult one to complete. And I think all the successful transfers we've had since I've been here, the players have been undoubted in their want and desire to sign for the football club for many different reasons. That could be, multifunctional reasons. But you can see that want and that drive from them to be here, and that then helps in their performance and in any difficult moments that they face. That their love for the club and their love for the environment shines through. So, and of course the players that you have, you want them to love being here as well, because that's equally as important in their journey through their time at the football club.
And do you see Alex being a unique case? Are you confident the club are building something to keep key players going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think of course that's what we want to do. We want to create an environment and a home for them that they love being at. But I would say Alex was very much part of that and loved his time here. So I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue for him was more when the other club became there. I think that then changed his thought process. But I'd never had a day where Alex didn't look like he enjoyed being at Newcastle 100%.
Okay, last couple to finish. I'll go to Dom and then to Martin, please.
Morning, Eddie. Nick Woltemade has played deeper previously to his striker role, and Johan Wissa has previously played out wide for Brentford. Is it as simple as saying you've signed two strikers, or is there versatility almost highlighted when you're looking at your squad as a whole?
Yeah, I think they are versatile players, and I think we like that versatility in any player, as you know from watching the team. Nick has played sort of as a 9, and he's played as a 10. Even his youth days, he'd played as an 8. And Johan's played any of the front 3 forward positions, really. Whether they do that for us, I don't know at this moment in time, but let's see.
And the foreign transfer windows, some of them are still open. Jamal Lascelles recently been linked with a move to Turkey once again, been left out your Champions League squad. Could he or any of the other players potentially leave the club in the coming days or weeks? Yeah,
I don't 100% know what's going to happen with the whole squad. I'd imagine time's running out on certain windows. So certainly from my viewpoint, I'd want to keep the squad together now.
Thank you. Martin, to finish, please.
Morning, Eddie. Newcastle fans were vociferous at Leeds against Alexander Isak when he was still a Newcastle player. Saturday's game with Wolves will be the first time Newcastle would have played a game since he left. Is there a message from you to the supporters?
I don't think I have to give a message to the supporters. I think the 3 games that we've had so far in the Premier League, they've been absolutely incredible for us, for the team. Aston Villa, they were absolutely amazing. I mean, the Liverpool game, although very painful for us in defeat, I thought the supporters all through the game were there with us, and so disappointed we couldn't get over the line and get something for them. And again, against Leeds, superb reaction after the game. So, but I don't feel I have to give any message to the supporters.
And how hard for you was that period when Alex didn't travel on the tour and then refused to play?
Yeah, I think it's difficult, yes. But we just tried to get through it in the only way that we can, which is really focusing on the players that wanted to play for Newcastle.
Sorry, last one. Sorry again on Alex. How did you feel when the deal with Liverpool was finally concluded?
I think at the time we were focusing on trying to bring players in right until the end. So again, I've said all through that was in other people's hands. I wasn't really part of that, so I was working on the other end.